Okay, the last 100 have just arrived at the doorway. So we should be underway, I would say, maybe 5 minutes. Wairua tapu, umai, mau mai ki konei. Wairua tapu, Holy Spirit, welcome. You are welcome here. Guide us, Holy Spirit. Speak to us again. Ke tau te Māori o te atua matua ki tō tātou whare e tūnei. Ke tau te Māori o te atua tama ki tō tātou whare e tūnei. Ke tau te Māori o te atua te wairu tapa ki tō tātou whare e tūnei. Ki runga ki rauno ki waho kreto ki ngā tātā katoa. Ke tia ho mai tōna māramatanga i runga i tēnā o koutou. Koutou tēnei kua eke mai runga i te marae. Te ākau o te moana e hora nei tēnei ka tuku atu e nei inoi aku. Inoi whakawhitai, inoi whakamoimi. Mātou te ina o tēnei, te karanga o tēnei, e runga te ingoa tapu ko ihi koutou ki tō mātou ariki. Amen.
Morunga, hararoa morunga, heu haratara, wa whai mai rā, kia! Turu turu ātai, turu turu au tērua, nā tohu ko te amakura, nau mai e tān! Turu turu au takotahita, nā tohu ko te huia! Oia i whakakōrero hia hui! Hui! Hui hui mai ai! Tauha whakatauha te rangirunga nei! Tauha whakatauha te papaira rora! Tauha whakatauha te mātukua mai ra rotonga! Oi aruku ia manawa paura tako ia i ruku ia manawa waho! Ke whakatina, ke tina, te moraki Hawaii ki! He pūpū ana hoki e ua ana hoki ke tāre watu ki te rangi! Ke hui eke! Eke panuku ki eke tangaro! Whakatau ki ia te kōrero! Haua! Tau kuri e! Ka taukuri e ko ngā kupu whakamiho. Ki runga i tō tātou piho paki tohi. Mō nā kupu tapu. Mō nā kupu nui. Mō nā kupu kororia. Ke wāwāhingia ko te wharenui o te matua. O te matua o raton. Ke tau katoa mai wana tini kororia tanga. Wana tini manaki tanga. Ki runga i ona pononga, e nona honei ki runga ki tōna, tūranga wai. E ia kei te torona o tōna whare ariki. Ko ia nei ko ngā kupu o te ngākau hei tau toko pau, te kaha i ona kupu. I whakahoi a tātou. I whakaturi a tātou. Oi, i wakakotahi a tātou tēnei rā, kei taku pihopa. Kami. Ke tūhanga nangana i te kouru kawhe ki te kawhe karo. Ko te mata o te hunga mate. Rātau ko wheturangi tia. Rātau ko takapau na mu ki te rua o matariki. Hei ka mopi a tāta ki te kahu nui o rangi nui e tūnei. Tō ia katoa mai wā kautau nā mate. Tēnei tangi mai ana. Tēnei tangi mai ana. Rātau e tangi tonu nei. Whakaropu hia I ngā tapu ai kua mahue ki muri nei. Ngā mate kei runga i a koutou. Ngā mate kei runga i a mātou. Tahina e te kupu taurangi. A muri i te aranga. I ngā rangi kotahane. Nā te whakamāri e tō tātou ari ki ei Ukraiti. Ko whai wāhi tātou te tangata. Te ripene tā i ngā hara. O te wā. Ko kona ka tohu ai te tohu nui mā tātou. Ko ia te kai whakaora. Ka ore te tahi mea tāia te hau ki te matua ki te kore hau. Ki ai anō. Ngā mate. Haere mai. Haere. Ka tūhanga ngana i te kouru. Ka whekite. Ka whekaro. Ko te mata o te hunga ora. Tātou e tau nei. Tātou e pai nei. Tihai. Māori ora. Tupu Māori ora ki te whai au. Tupu Māori ora ki te au marama. Pērā tonu i te wā. Tai mai tō tupuna. Ki runga ki ngā one pū. O te tāmure. I whakatauhia. Te hui kāinga. O tēnei one. O tēnei whenua. I aia. Pērā tonu Māori a te kēmara. I hakataua kei a koutou. Kei Māori a wire mū. Haere mai! Haere mai! Hoki maira! Ngā mana! Ngā tapu! Ngā wehi! Ngā wana! Me ngā whakamataku a te taumata! Tēnā koutou! Tēnā koutou! Tēnā koutou kato! It is my honour and privilege on behalf of Ngāti Rahiri, Ngāti Kawa, on behalf of the many descendants of Te Kēmara, to formally welcome you here to these sacred grounds. To welcome you back to the site where your ancestor was welcomed formally by our ancestor. Similar greeting to that brings us together this day on the cusp of the afternoon wind. I welcome you from afar. I welcome you from very close, from the four corners of this world. I welcome you not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 times, which is a symbolical and spiritual number within Te Ao Māori that is representative of the 3 degrees of heaven. Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pā mā mao, the resting place to the right hand of our Creator. I welcome you on the notion that our ancestors are too present with us this evening and will be for the rest of our lives until we meet them at that great and glorious day when we enter into the spiritual realm. I welcome you. A wairua a tīnana ki runga I tēnei whenua. E ki anei a ngā puhi te whenua te pito o te ao. I welcome you to the birthplace of this nation. We, the descendants, welcome you. You come at a very significant time for ngā puhi. It's significant because we too commemorate the 100th centennial of our ancestral meeting house, Te Tiriti o Waitangi. What makes it special? Its significance are carved in the ancestral wood. Upon each carving are ngā puhi milestones. The centre pillar, the most significant pillar, te pautuarongo of any carved meeting house, holds the esoteric knowledge that has survived throughout our generation and will continue to survive through our children, those here and those yet to be brought into this world. It is significant on the backs of my senior kaumātua, the elders of ngā puhi, the majority whom have passed, the remnants that still remain, agreed that te karuwha must be etched on that particular pau. So it is only but fitting that you pay homage to your tupuna, who sits at an echelon and a taumata befitting of ngā puhi rangatira. Kei te tuarongo, kei te tihi o ngā pau, ko Rahiri. At the apex of that carving sits Rahiri with his protruding tongue. Rahiri is the common tupuna for all of ngā puhi. Below Rahiri sits your tupuna. May I request this day forth that you thank ngā puhi senior kaumātua for their acknowledgement of you. This whare, tēnei whare, ngā koutou. Tēnei marae, ngā koutou. Tēnei hapu, ngā koutou. This is your meeting house, Elizabeth. This is your land. These are your whanaunga. These are your relations. Though I may not have blue eyes, my blood is blue. As the blue blood of these beautiful waters we call home. The many parishes that sit amongst us, tēnā koutou. We come out of a significant gathering. Though our people commemorate the bunny that gives birth to chocolate eggs, we know the true meaning of the great sacrifice our Saviour gave to the world. Though we come out the giving of a Santa Claus that gives many presents, we still commemorate the birth of our Saviour. These are two significant events that were instilled into the heart of ngā puhi. 1814, ngā puhi converted, nothing's changed. The only difference is, Bishop Kipto, I stand as the first counsellor of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Hoki a hau ki ngā kōrero, a te tupuna a ngā tihine, tahimi henare e mei ngāna. Tahimi henare stated a prophetic saying that we still continue to hold to this day. Let religion not divide us, but our belief in Christ bring us closer together. Koia tana karere. Despite the translation of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, e kōrero anō te. We lose the true message, his true mission. E tātou mā, kore au te whakarahi ake I wēnei kōrero. Kei muri tonu au, waku mātua. He muri tonu au, wa kukuia. He muri tonu au, ko whanau ngā e tatari kia tūtaki a ihu. Ki runga, ki rau. He re tonu ia tātou te iti, te rahi, tēnā koutou, kāti, tēnā tātou e tau ana.
Te rapu ana I te ara tika o tātou katoa. Tangi a te ruru, kei te hoki maera. He maka whero ki te pu, tahitanga. Nāku nei a koe, I tuku kia haere. Tēnā kuriti a iho, nui rawa taroha e. Te hoki ngā mai tēnā koutou. Tangi ana te makai I te aroha. Tūtonu rā te mana te ihi o ngā tupuna wa wehe atu rā. Mauria mai te mauri tangata. He oranga mo te moehu, tangi mo kaite. He rapu ana I te ara tika o tātou katoa. He rapu ana I te ara tika o tātou katoa. Te hoki ngā mai, tūna mata tonu.
Ai ka tu. E papaki mai na me ki rā ki o whairangi waki. Tū ki tana tū, mai rāna. I ki te tera moana I o te kiki. Ure re tūna ki te tautoko I tēnei, ko matu tama. E mati aisaia. I takato hea koe, te paeroa, me ngā whakatauki he rei tātou te kutu. Ka hoki koe ki te kema, ka hoki koe o mātu tupuna. Nā ka hoki ki tōna me ki rā ko wirumu ki karupara tēnā. Me tana teina. Nō reira, me pēhea rā tāia iau ki te tongotongo ngā pātere pēna. Ngari me pēnea ki te kōrero, nāu ngā tātou. Nō reira e koutou e tūna tēnei kaumātua. Ki te tautoko I ngā kōrero tēnei. E tūatana ki te mamai kia koutou haere mai. Haere mai koutou. Haere mai koutou ki runga te whenua me ki rā I roto I o mātou. Nō koutou I whanako. E rongana hau I nai nei te tai kōrero e namana koutou ki mata. I kore ea, Engari mā wene herenga I roto I a tātou, ka kōrero tātou mo nai nei. Harang I te tinatanga. Engari mi hoki o ki ngā whakaaro rātou mai konei. I konei hoki te treiti a waitangi I hainahia. I konei ki a mātou Māori mā. Hei kōrero ki te kawana ki te kauna. Noho mai koutou kia noho i tātou ki te kōrero. I hihi ana mātou, ke hara mai koutou ki te tiaki a koutou anō tangata. Ma mātou na mātou tiaki. Hara mai koutou. E kete ke na mātou koutou waipoke, i roto i tō mātou moana. Ia rā, tāi ki te rua te whārai. E hake tō koutou mahi kone. Hara ki te harere. Hara ki te harere. He taonga o mātou i konei. He taonga. A koutou he Pākehā. Kore te Pākehā hara mai konei mo te koretaki. Ki reira he taonga, he hirimi. Nā katai mai koutou. Engari me ki pēnei. Ko tai tāte ki te wā iai nina. Ura. Ka tira keo ki konei. A koutou katoa. I mua mai koutou te hāhi ki konei. A hau e katorika, tō mātou i tangata i konei, tō mātou piopā, ko Pōwhiri. Ka mea te kia wiramu. Huri hea pā. Ki ngā rangatia i konei. Kau e haina hea tēnā. Ei ki mera kau ke koutou tina mōhiona te hohumita. Ari kia hasea, hara mai ki konei, ko oti, ko mutu e nata. Haere tunu nei, e nei mamai ki roto i a mātou. Engari ko tā mai koutou haere mai. Ki te kenau i a koutou te maha. Ko rau ki taku teina nei, me tahi ko nei, ngā kau mātou no ke ko nei. Pena rā pēnei mātou ngā hapu o ngā vui ki te puta ki waho. Pena ko te kōrero o Māori e pēnei kena, mangu pai a ngā pu. A koutou, mā pai a koutou Pākehā. Mā pai tēnei wahi a koutou. Te mano. Tā mai koutou. Hei te aha, hei te aha. Kei te whakanui i o koutou herenga. I tō koutou tūpuna karuwha. Me onani mahi, i mahi tahi ei ke mata. Me onani mahi e ke a puhipe. Me haina, i tahi tiriti, a te wā. Are māte no whangaroko o te kito māte te haina, ko te wakaputanga tēnā. Ko te wakaputanga tēnā. Tahi mano i warau, tōru te kau marima. Te tino tuaka. No reira, ko tāi mai. Ko tāi mai. E haria kena e warahiki konei koe, ki te rātou, tō rātou tūpuna. Iau tāi mai hoki mau konei ka nui te tino taimaha o ngā whakaaro ngā kaumata. Ia mai hakena tana Pākehā konei. Engari ka āta kōrero sia ka wānaka tia ai ki tutiki. Ki e ai te kōrero ki te whare paramata tūna. Hura haere mai. Ati ka Sam, tēnā koe Sam? Tō mātou hono o Hawaii rugby football ka kore mātou raru i a huta. Tēnā koe Sam, tā mai koe. Tēnei te tahi tangata tina mōi, hako kiri a koutou māti nau koe. Raru koutou i a mātou. Kari pehana ka, tēnā koe mātou. Tā mai koe ki roto i tōu whānau. Tā mai koe ki te Pōwhiri, te here i a koutou. Reira kore tina roa. Te mahi o tēnā mea, te tama pēnei, e tuku te ki a koutou te hitoria, me te hohunutanga o te ao Māori. Te whatu manawa Māori, a tai noa anō rā ki te ao te ui. Kia ora koutou. I stand here and I'm somewhat shaken really by the depth and the knowledge of such a young leader. In my world, the world that I should have known, the world that I was colonised from not knowing. And here we have today young people who are free to go back and learn that world. To speak it with some purity and also with honesty. In a way that talks about our past, but also brings us forward to where we are today. If I look at you here, we're pretty well much the same age, so we're in a generation that's probably well nearly run out, I think, same. But here you are, to pay a special respect to your ancestor Karuwha, Henry Wheeler. We all know the stories, and there are many of them. It's come up several times. But in saying this, my role here today is to stand and support my taumata. And my younger gentleman here, our rangatira of the future, has said the elders have all gone. There's us few that are left who try our best to hold fast and steadfast to what the taumata stands for. E hara koutou te hori, you're not our enemy. You're one of us. You come here to make those connections so that we can move on in a new world, so this next generation will not need to live with a lot of the pain that many of you have lived with, and many of my generation. We can only hope that we can put those things aside. If there's one thing that I'm absolutely proud and privileged to be, that we have a report coming out. I want you to read it. It's a stage 2 report of how terrible things that they did to my people. And they're not fiction, they're fact. We don't think we're going to ask for a whole Aotearoa back, but there are certain things that we've always grieved for. We are the last of the biggest tribe in Aotearoa, 144,000. That hasn't settled. I don't think many will settle, but we will move forward anyway with what we can do. We need to move forward so the next generation doesn't carry the burden of those of us who couldn't settle a settlement, one or another. Anyway, koutou mā haere mai. E te piopoa tēnā. Nā o tēnei I mau I runga te rārangi kupu, ko iua matua kore ki runga. Ngā whakarotanga wena mai ranga. E nei mea katoa roto I a tātou, mānano e whakaruru hau, e whakatikitiki. Nui rea koutou ngā piopoa, ngā minita, ke kona, haere mai. Haere mai, a mātou, ngā puhi, he iwi, hapu, whānau, wairua. Te tūpuna a pita, a kāwiti, nā koutou I mirimiri kia huriea ki te hāhi. Nā koutou mirimiri kia huriea tēnā tangata ki te hāhi. Nāma, he was massaged into becoming really what he was, into something that he really believed in, and that was religion. And he was a great warrior. But it was your people that convinced him, coerced him, influenced him, and many of us. So in saying that, everybody welcome once, twice, thrice. And over these next few days, we will be seeing you, and we will be getting closer. And I just hope that we don't have to wait another 200 years, for the next one to happen. Because I see there's another generation here as well. Our people, and just what you see here now, we have intergenerational people now. They want to move at the times. They want to move as fast and as practically robust as they possibly can. But in saying that, we have to make sure that we don't make mistakes. You only hit one shot at this, and you've got to do it properly. Murere koutou mā, haere mai, te kaua ngā koe, welcome, haere. Kei runga ngā kāhui katahi, me mihi tau ki te marae, ki te papa iwahone, ki te whainua nei o Ngāti Rahi, Ngāti Kaua. Kei runga ki raro, here nei o tātou, I roto te ko tahitanga o te whānau, he nā koutou, he nā koutou. Ai, kia ora tātou katoa.
Tutia te rito o te harake kei hea te komako e ko ki mai ki aha.
I doing a rarang. Wait and wait, a commander here, not a
Ara piti piti tata tata. Piti piti tata tata. Titiro ki ngā wai o tokerau e hora nei. Me he pipi parauroa takoto te pai, takoto te pai. Hei! Nā reira, e poto noiho, oku kupu, e o tike ia rihari, te whariki, i tōku kaupapa, he uri ahau, nā kawiti. Kawiti, te kemarama, hone heke mā, i tū ko tahi ai ki mua i ngā Pākehā i tōna wā. Nā e tū tonu ana i te taha o te hunga kāinga i ēnei rā. Nā reira, haere mai koutou, haere mai i runga anō i te karanga o ngā pānau o ngā hapu o konei. Haere mai koutou, me a koutou mate. I te karangatanga atu i a koutou te hau mai, ko te tangata ora e hau mai ana, ko te tangata mate e hau mai ana. Nā ko mauria mai ko ngā whakāhua, e maha rāke ana i o koutou mate katoa, i ngā mate kei runga i te hunga kāinga. I tēnei tau, ko ngā mate pēnei tō tātou whae a titi whae harawira. Ko hui hui rātou katoa, e mihi atu ana ki te hunga mate, ka hoki anō ki a tātou te hunga ora, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. I stand here to support the local people. I come here from further up the river, and it's already been made known that I am a descendant of Kawiti. And so I come here to support the local people in welcoming you all. I won't get another chance to stand to speak with you. Your number plate is the Williams family. But I also see some of the Busbys amongst you too, because you obviously intermarried. I don't know many of you at all, but I do know Marty, because Marty and I were at a meeting earlier today. I do know Jane very well, and I know the likes of others. Who can forget Alistair Robinson? I tried to play rugby against him. So I bid you welcome. A little snippet of Kawiti. When Henry Williams and his wife were living in Pakaraka, up until that point, so that was 1853 when Kawiti passed away, he was known as a non-believer. Some may call him a heathen. He had taken the battle to the Pākehā only 8 years previously. So he was willing to put his life and the lives of his people on the line for the price of liberty. And although he was a non-believer, in his very last year, he agreed to be baptized. And he lived in a place called Kawiti, which in a straight line is almost straight across the paddock from the Pakaraka church. So for a man like Henry Williams to convince Kawiti to turn to Christianity, I believe Henry Williams was some sort of a man. And I know because Kawiti's contemporaries tried in vain to antagonize Henry Williams and his wife,
and they weren't going to cower to anybody. So for me, here in 2023, to support the local people, to welcome you all, those relationships between Kawiti and Henry Williams, and no doubt his wife, were very, very close in 1853. I'm wanting to hear the stories. And I'm wanting to hear all of the narratives that happened then, subsequently, and now make us the people that we are. I end with those words. Tēnā koutou, kia ora mai anō tātou katoa.
E hara I te mea, nōna nei te aroha.
Ēnā mate, oia marae o te motu, haere, haere, haere. Ko te honga mate, ko koutou, kia koutou. Ko te honga ora, ko tātou, kia tātou. It is a great honour to stand here and speak. I want to thank you for the invitation to come to this place and share in this bicentenary. And I want to also thank you for your welcome to us all. The fact that we have a relationship that dates back 200 years is a cause for celebration, reflection, and a time to consider the future. There are a number of events which bind us together over those 200 years. Henry and Marianne Williams lived here for 27 years, and William and Jane for 9 years before both families moved inland. The first major event that happened was the arrival of the British resident James Busby in 1833, and your tupuna and our whānau were here to welcome him. He brought with him a letter from King William IV. This was read to the assembled crowd by Henry Williams, and the Maori version was read to the crowd by William Williams. In 1834, a new flag was decided upon for this country, and I'm delighted to see it flying out there. It was designed by Henry, and there was a referendum to choose the flag between the local people, the missionaries, and some ship's captains that were here. And I have to say, Henry's design won the day, but it didn't cost 20 million to get that organised. In 1835, we saw the Declaration of Independence, and Henry played a part in those discussions leading up to that declaration. In 1839, as has already been mentioned, Henry was influential in this piece of land being put into a reserve to be looked after by Ngāti Rahiri. And that is, of course, the reason that Henry is in the whare, as we have seen. 1840, we're all well aware of the discussion, the translation, the explanations, and the signing of the treaty. And we will have opportunities in the coming days to talk about the treaty, where we've come from, and where we might be heading at this point in our history. In 1875, there was a gathering here of 600 people, about 100 Pākehā, and by this time, the next generation of the family were taking over, and Edward Williams, Henry and Marianne's eldest son, was here at that gathering. In 1923, the family celebrated 100 years of living in this country. And together with you people, they met in Pōwhiri and they made a decision to build the church that we have today. It was not an easy decision, and I didn't realise that they found it quite difficult, because a lot of them said we'd much rather support the mission to the Maori people rather than build a church. However, they have managed to do both since, and our generation has carried that on. In 1973, many of us were welcomed onto this marae in the rain. and we presented to you the bell that now stands outside the whare. So we come to today, and as has already been said, e tipu e rea. We now hand over, those of us who are getting more senior, hand over to the next generation to take things forward. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora tātou.
E karoria ki tā atua, e mangorongo ki te whenua, e whakarau pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Tēnā koe e tā atua kaharawa. Tēnā koe ki te maunga ko Pōwhiri. Tēnā koe ki te wharenui a tāhua ko te tiriti o Waitangi e tūnei. E tu ana ki te taha i te awa ko Waitangi. Tēnā koe hoki e te marae ko te ti, e tā koto nei. E tā koto nei ki te taha i te moana o te pewharangi. E nei mate o te wā, o te wiki, o te marama, o te tai. Hari ki te hui hui nā o te kahi kātea, hari ki te hui hui nā o te kahi kātoa. Hari ki tua i te pai o Maunahara. Tēnā koutou, e ngā rauranga tērā o tēnei rohi, o te motu nei katoa. Ka nui te mihi manahau ki a koutou katoa. Tēnā koutou e kuima, e koruma, ka nui te mihi, ka nui te mihi. Tēnā koutou e ngā mana whenua, e ngā tangata whenua katoa, e whakatau mai nei i tēnei taopena. E tika ana mei mihi mateheri hoki ki o koutou tupuna. Ko rāheri, ko unuku, ko kaharau, ko mai kuku hoki ki o koutou tupuna katoa. E nui he rahi te mana o koutou tupuna. I ngā wā o mua, he nui he rahi hoki, te manaakitanga, te whakamāru, me te araha, i o koutou tupuna ki o mātou tupuna. Ko ena hamu, rawa ko te koki. Rawa nā rangatira i whakakaupapa te teihana mihana. Nui rawa atu i tūki Aotearoa nei ki Paihia. Ko Henry Williams, te mihinari tuatahi o tērā teihana mihana. I taima ia ki Paihia i te tau 1823. Ki e tahi o koutou tupuna, ko te karu whā, tāna inu. Ki au, ko Martin Williams, tupinu. Ko William Williams te tangata. Ko ia te taina o karu whā. I taima ia ki Paihia i te tau 1826. Ki ētahi o koutou tupuna ko te parata. Tāna. Ko te karuwha rawa ko Marianne. Ko te parata rawa tana hoa hene ko Jane. Rātou nā tipuna mātua o mātou pana. E hara. Rātou nā tipuna mātua o ta hāpū ko Ngāti Wiramu katoke. He ono, ko tēnei te katoke. Nā ta kōrero, nā ta manaakitanga, nā ta araha hoki, i o koutou tupuna ki o mātou tupuna ka putata honana i a rātou katoa. Rite tonu tērā honana ki te rāranga o ngā whitau o ta haraketi. Rite tonu tērā honana ki te tūhonu a ihu karaati ki tāna rahi. Pēnei tonu tērā honana ki te tūhonu a te pautua rongo ke roto i te wharenui ki karuwha. Tēnā kia tūhonu, te kātoa ki te mana me te tāpu o te tereti o Waitangi i Wawatātea a tātou tupuna katoa. Nō reira, ko tēnei te wero. Te wero ki a mātou nā uri katoa a te karawha rawa o te paratai. Te wero ki a mātou nā tauiwi katoa o Aotearoa. Mā mātou ki te tiriti o Waitangi e o ati tonu nei. I wawatātea a tātou tūpuna katoa. Ka huri au e nai nei ki te reo Pākehā. I won't repeat all that I have said as my gift of the kupu that I have managed to assemble in my short time studying the reo e Manihauahau e Pikiri. Amongst the various acknowledgements of the many significant tupuna and of the bonds that were forged between our tupuna and the tupuna of our hosts, I have acknowledged that as a result of their protection, their generosity, their love, and the time shared together, back then, from 1823, when Karawha arrived here, and under the protection of Anahamu in Te Koki, the most significant mission station in New Zealand's history was formed. Those bonds that were forged in that way at that time were like the weave of the fibres of harakeke flax. Those bonds were like the binding of Christ upon which he built his church. Those bonds were like what binds the pō tuaronga, the main pō, ke roto e te wharenui, inside the wharenui with karawha. And it is our challenge as the descendants of Henry and William, who spoke to your tupuna about what the treaty meant. It is our challenge to commit to the treaty in the manner desired by our ancestors collectively. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
I whakapono ana mātou ki e whakatena tō tātou tupuna e te karawha I ngā rangatira Māori o Taua Wā ki e whakatūtuki hai Ngāti Rānei te tiriti o Waitangi. E ai ki te kōrero, ka ore aroa, ka takehea te karauna I runga I ngā mana o te tiriti. Au e te māmai. For those of you here, or of us here, who don't speak Māori terribly well, bind to the sky above, bind to land beneath, bind the people here today, affirm, acknowledge the life force. I stand here and acknowledge all the words and messages that were shared before me, and I congratulate my first speakers. Thank you. To those who've departed the physical world, we bid you farewell. Haere, haere, haere. Past to the past, living to the living, greetings to you that are here today. And to you, the keepers of this land, Ngāti Rahiri, Ngāti Kawa, you greet us and call us on. We believe that our ancestor Te Karuwha encouraged the Māori chiefs of the time to pursue and sign Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And as the story goes, it wasn't very long before the treaty was being abused. Oh, the heartache. We are the descendants of Karuwha and Marianne, Parata and Jane, and we humbly stand before you and we acknowledge you. Pēwharengi te moana, Waitangi te awa, Pōwhiri te maunga, Brampton te waka, Puki whātu turanga wawe ko Marty Robinson tēnei. I want to acknowledge the legacy that has been pointed out to us already. That we were invited onto this land. We didn't discover or arrive here on an empty beach. We were invited as guests by Anahamu, wife of Te Koki. And we've had that repeated today, that we are here as family. And that is a legacy. Henry got about the country and he met a lot of people and a lot of very discerning chiefs, starting from Anahamu, Te Kemara, Hongi Hika, Honi Heke, Kawiti, Paruoni, Tamati Wakanene. These weren't odd jobs, these were high chiefs. And Henry was able to mingle with them and develop such a relationship from 1823 through to 1835 that they entrusted him with he whakaputanga or te rangatiratanga o New Tirani. And furthermore, after 5 years, to entrust him with Te Tiriti o Waitangi, that he was endorsed it to the satisfaction of the chiefs that they were prepared to sign it. That is our legacy, but it is also our responsibility as descendants of both Karuwha and Marianne and William and Jane, Parata and Jane, is that what the missionaries managed to do from 1823 to 1840, only 17 years, we've got 17 years to honour Te Tiriti o Waitangi. That is our challenge and our responsibility towards our hosts. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I want to thank our hosts who have welcomed us on and who are going to be looking after us. I was reminded that if you don't come with a jacket on, you've come for a fight. So in response to that, I haven't come with a jacket but to have a fight, but it's to get stuck in and ensure that we work hard in order to honour Te Tiriti. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora.
Thank you, Hugh, Martin and Marty. We are due to go to dinner in 10 minutes time. We're right on time, by the way. But I want to introduce to you now Mr. Wallace Hetaraka. He is the master carver who carved the Karuwha so many years ago. Hana mai te matua.
Te taumata. E hara tēnei hoki Te tangata kaha ki te kōrero pēnā kia koutou. E ngari o kuringa nei I kōrero mōku. Hari an ki te rongo hoki ngā kōrero. Ena, Martin. You, Martin. Make a good TV show, bro. Tino hari au ki te rongo hoki o koutou nei kōrero. I tako hoki ki mua waki wa tātou nei rangatira, tūmaina. We heard mention of Kawiti and of his key supporters. And it's, I'm also happy that that was laid on the floor today. And also mention of whakaputanga, which is, 5 years before Te Haina Tango Te Tiriti o Waita. And it's with whakaputanga or the Declaration of Independence that I want to start with here today, because that led eventually to having Karuwha represented in this building. So there were quite a few decisions made in 1835, apart from the Declaration. One of them was that they abolished carved meeting houses in Taitogero, and for the first time officially recognized Christianity. That happened across there, Taurangati. And in the early 40s, the elders of the time, in the 1900s now, because enough was said about whakaputanga, enough was said about te haeretanga te tiriti, I'm going to come forward there, because what I heard the three of you talking about is going forward into the future. So in the 80s, the chiefs and elders of Taitogero realized that when they abolished carved meeting houses, they threw the baby out with the bathwater. Because a lot in the mātauranga of Whakairo was our world view. So in 1966, I was chosen to represent all of the tribes in Taitogero to head off to Rotorua to train under Hone Taiapa, to bring the skill of Whakairo back to the north. And it was in 1972 then when I finally returned, and still unaware of why I was sent. According to my parents and to my uncles from over there at Whangaruru, you are being taken into the land of our enemies. And they didn't want me to go. But I think the elders of Taitogero overruled his no decision. So when I came back to Whangaruru, I was called over to Otiria. And then the wānanga for me really began in regards to our history, in regards to our mātauranga tuku iho, in regards to our tirohanga Māori. And we were tagged along with Eri Mahenare, Don Ngawati, Walter Few. And the first job, that wasn't quite the first job I was tasked to do, was to carve karuwha on my return back to the north. And that took place it started in 1980, end of 79, 1980. But prior to that, in the 70s was a very, very significant year for us as Māori. Because that was the year, in my view, that Kawiti spoke about in his, well, it's more of a prophecy really, of what was to come in the future. It was in that period, in the 70s, 67, 67, 66, 67, 74 was when we bought the Ngātuki Matapauru, the waka from the top down to the bottom there. And that's the year in Kawiti's statement, and by the way too, it was Ngāti Wai, Ngāti Korora, Ngāti Takapari, and Te Waiariki, who took Kawiti from Ruapekapeka back to Pukepoto, just out of Whangarei after the battle there. And the next morning he recited his prophecy to those gathered there. And he said, e te whānau, I pakangau I te atu I te pō, ki hai mata. Taki hea te riri ki raro ko tēnei wāwai, kia ū ki tō whakapoma. E pō ai pāke a koutou muri akenu. Ma taki e koutou ngā papapau namu o koutou nei tupuna, engari. Ko te namu I kakati ngā rarangi o te puka e reira tauri koutou. So after saying we will become slaves to the system, after saying he went into battle with God, his faith was tested when they attacked the pa on Sunday. That was the reference he was referring to there, that his faith was tested. I went into battle with God. Then he said, trample beneath your anger beneath your feet. Hold fast to your faith. And for many of us as Māori, on the front wall of the inside of the building, you see a sketch of a figure holding a feather resting over the shoulder. That symbolized the burden that our people carried, burden of carrying the treaty after it was signed. And when you have a burden, it can be a very lonesome experience. But when Kawiti said, hold fast to your faith, that effectively gave courage for our people to raise their chins up, to carry that burden with pride. In the 70s, the protests began. The catch cry of the protests when it first started was the treaty was a fraud. Ratify the treaty. That was the catch cry of the protest that ran throughout the whole country. Rihari would know that it was about 77 when the Māori Council called a Rihari across the bridge to discuss this very subject of whether the treaty was a fraud. And before they agreed that maybe it was, Sir James Henare stood and said, the treaty is sacrosanct. It was signed in good faith between two honourable people. The catch cry of the protest then became, honour the treaty. So that's the period that began the period of the mosquito nibbling at the pages of the book. The mosquito in this, or the namu, sandfly. The sandfly is seen as some people trying to settle the treaty, nibbling at it. But I often think of the term kakati. When I was growing up, that term was used when we had rongoa Māori and your face screwed up. Like biting into a lemon, you screw it. That's kakati. And they chose that word to describe the lamu nibbling at the pages of the book. The treaty is a bitter thing to swallow. So I was so happy to hear the words come out of all three of you. And especially in the hearing team, the term tiriti. Because to us as Māori, we side the tiriti, not the treaty. The thinking of our elders in 1980, when we began the carvings for the inside of Te Tīpata, the whare over here, was that, you correctly stated, was that the whenua was put into a trust and put under Ngāti Kawa Ngāti Rahi. But the thinking of our elders back then was, as well as acknowledging that, was that kore tātou nei ware ware. That we never forget that happened. And part of whakairu is ensuring that when we record things, we record it as it was. So putting Wirimu Henare Williams Karuwha, sorry. I didn't know his name was Karuwha until we started carving it. Was that their arrival is a fact of life. Their arrival in our midst is a fact of life. It wasn't a myth. And our people knew that there are certain people that will come in the future that can change that into a myth and say that didn't exist or didn't happen. That was put in there so that we never forget that happened and that we still got work to do. And the other thing that I was so happy to hear from you, Māori, is that the challenge you put to the descendants. The other thing that I was told when they decided to put Karuwha in here was that the descendants of Karuwha will arrive here one day in great numbers. And I was looking harder because I heard you say that you're descended from both of them. And it sounded a bit like us, we sort of, we refer to it as blue blood though. But the thing I was looking hard at you when I first come in was to see if there's any brown faces amongst you.
Yeah, there are.
Because that's what Finna Cooper said, eh? Marry them. So we have now arrived, really arrived at that time in our history. And during the 250 kaupapa, that was the sesquicentennial celebration of Captain Cook discovering New Zealand. We changed that to tuia, and that taupara that you recited. Tuia 250 first encounters. Yeah? Our argument was that the country wasn't lost to be found. But we saw that as an opportunity for our history to be told officially in schools right throughout the country. And the Ministry of Education put together tracking to show that they were genuine in doing that, but it wasn't until Jacinda Ardern announced at the end of the 2-year celebration in Mahia that history will be taught in our schools. And the whole crux behind the wakahaurua travelling travelling as part of the whaitura. One was Hoho Te Rongo. And Hoho Te Rongo started from when Pōwhiri left Tahiti and put on board Māori kohatu to be delivered at all the stops throughout the country. But the message that they carried was dual heritage, shared future. Dual heritage, shared future. That was an encouragement for us to begin to sit down and start the dialogue, exactly what you're saying, of how do we go forward together. In my view, us as Māori have a lot to catch up on, especially in regards to being Māori. The reo is only part of our identity. Me ha toki te reo me ona tikanga. It's those aspects of our cultural practices that we desperately trying to retrieve. We have even scientists saying today that indigenous knowledge holds the secret to reversing what's happening to the environment. A lot of that knowledge is still held within the realms of whakairo. So that whole period was to encourage us to start the dialogue, get the dialogue started, and hopefully, who are saying by 1970. The other thing that the elders made statement of here at that same period was right where we're standing now was the site of Tauna. Right on this site was a building they referred to as Tauna. That was the name of the building. And having Kanuwha in there was to forever. Was there for us never to forget that the treaty was signed. And their hope was to create a new whare here or there. I'm for the first time putting it in front of these elders, although Ngāti Rahiri and Ngāti Kawa have already heard this kōrero, is that we build a whare the old way with no nails. And that alone will be a symbol of our people returning back. Like Kawiti said, e rere kahuri koutou, that you turn back to your culture. And turning back to our culture doesn't mean giving up whatever faith we hold fast in. It doesn't mean giving up the faith that they have adopted. Koe nā hoki tāna kōrero, kia ū ki tō whakapono. Hold fast to your faith. And it's holding fast to that faith that has brought our people through the hard times. Whenua e tātou mā, hohangi o hoki au, te taringa. Tuku nā hoki there's an open mic. Warau ki te mihi kia koe e te pēhapa nā nei, o kupu nei kua tūpera teo hoki te kua hau runga, tukuna mai hoki te koro wai wairua ki hunga tēnei hoki tātani ruru. Ena kanu hoki te mihi kia koe nā ni tingata hoki. Mo he nau e kia koe anu e kapi hoki tēnei taha. No rene kouta mā. As I said earlier, those elders in 1980 foresaw your arrival back on these grounds. And they foresaw the welcome that you received here today. They foresaw the words that fell out of your mouths here today. And the challenge really is for us. Kia noho tahi tātou kia kōrero. Yeah? It's time for us to sit and talk. And who better to do this than all of us who are descendants of those people who signed the treaty, and all those the descendants of those who were an important part of that moment in time. Bueno, e tātou e te taumata. Ngari tū tēnei taka hio ki koutou nei mama. Ngari i kinaki hio ki koutou nei kōrero. Rei kita. Zaya, nau e au ki te rongo hoki tau koutou nei rea tēnei rā. Reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou kapo.
Oro mai koringa kia hariru tia koringa ia whikono la whikaku tinana akaroto nei
Thank you very much. Can we acknowledge Warahi, te waka for his kōrero? Thank you very much. I'm just going to take a short time. We're about to have dinner, and the dining room will take 200. The dining room. Everyone else, all the kai is here. You just come and get a hangi and the dessert. Then you please find a seat. You're allowed to sit anywhere except in the ate of the marae and the gateway anywhere around here. Those going into the dining room is if you're over 100, if you're over 90, if you're over 80, if you're over 75, or if you're a bishop. You're allowed to go into the dining room. What I suggest, if you're elders, could you send your elders into the dining room, and the younger ones can fetch the kai here and take it in. 200 can go into the dining room. I'll say grace and everyone else can just follow. The Lord be with you. Bless, O Lord, the food to our use, and bless us in your service. Make us always mindful of the needs of others through Jesus Christ, our risen Lord. Amen. Please make your way, elders, to the dining room. Someone get your kai. Everybody else. And
Kia ora, ko Martin Williams, tuku ingoa. My name is Martin Williams. I'm a descendant of William Williams, younger brother of Henry.
Nice. And so, what do you think about the bicentennial in general and today's events?
Look, it's a marker in time. It really is a significant day. I think not just for the whānau and the hapu that welcomed us, but for our whole hapu as Ngāti Wiramu. As Wallace said, when they put Henry at the base of the Pōtuarongo, they foresaw that we would be here today and that we would be welcomed in that way, and that the time our ancestors spent together 200 years ago was so important in forging the history of this nation to follow. And today we recognise that not as a final step, but as a first step towards the shared New Zealand we want to be. So it's been a fantastic day, a really significant day, great wairua, lots of smiles on the faces, and just wonderful to see so many of Ngāti Wiramu here to acknowledge that.
Do you speak for provisions?
I'm a
No,
lawyer.
that's good. What was that?
I'm a lawyer.
Maybe.
Okay.
Should we just mention the walk from the Copthorne to here and the welcome? Just saying about that, if you could. And when you're ready, mate.
Yeah, look, we did the hikoi from the Copthorne across the Waitangi onto the marae to Tea, which stands and rests on the side of the Waitangi River. And it was hugely significant that walk stretched out from end to end. That just shows what a magnificent occasion and what an important day this is, not only for our family, but really for Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Right, Jack, you want me to help feed you?
No, I don't want that.
We should have waited. No, we're still giving.
I'll take some. Thank you very much.
Inside is got steamed pudding, and then fruit, and then the custard.
Yep.